Hi, in this video I want to explore with you some strategies for web career research. We want to think about how we can be flexible searching and how we can make connections out to other ideas from the material we find in our searches. We want to remember that our mission is to find out why people in our dream career work and which specific outcome skills people in this career use and how. This means we're going to be looking for examples, details, quotes, types of evidence that will help you make those points. I'd also like to point out that the web research piece should be really the third piece. In other words, the first focus should be the Career Center, particularly the Eureka and Career Cruising sites, then using the library catalog and the key databases we looked at there, and then finally the web. So when you're out on the web, there's three cool starting points that you can consider. The web can help you get lots of interesting information by doing a direct career title search. In my case, housing lawyer. Also, it's a great place to find interviews and a cool place to find blog posts. And I want to take a minute to show you how you can explore each of those options. So I'm in Google and I type in my dream career in the language that's most familiar to me. I'm going to put housing lawyer. And when I type that up, there's some interesting things that I get from that. First of all, the word tenant shows up, which gives me an alternative way to explore my job. Let me see if I can make these a little bigger. I'm sorry, did I say job? I meant my career. Boy, Chris Rock would be really frustrated with me right now. So we're going to look for my career options. You're going to find out there's actually quite a few interesting ideas in here. Some of them are specific lawyers, and it'll take you to their web pages, so they're almost advertisements. Others are introductions to the concepts of law. I think this one's kind of interesting. Tenants' rights, when to hire a lawyer. So there's a focus on that language of tenancy. And I find this interesting. There's an organization completely devoted to this kind of thing called Housing Justice. And that web page introduces all sorts of possibilities, right? What do these people, what do these kind of lawyers do? What motivates them here? The idea of justice. This is just a cool example of a great thing that the web can provide you for your paper. This kind of direct exposure to an organization or a situation or a specific person practicing living out the job. One of the things I want to get across is the idea that you can plug in other options. So I learned about this idea of tenant lawyer or tenant rights lawyer. Let's try that. And so I can do another search for that and see what comes up there. And I get some different posts, and then I get some of the same materials. But one of the things that's cool is I get some specific examples that are local that I can explore. So the thing that we can see out of a quick Google search is that you can really be taken to some specific examples of your career and be given alternative language and be connected to organizations, websites, events, and news stories. But I think you can also really do a lot with interviews. So I'm going to do here, type in housing lawyer interview, click return, and I get some interesting stuff. And some of it is just lawyers answering questions. So it's not really an interview with a lawyer about his or her career, but it is often someone interviewing a lawyer about tenant rights or housing issues. But there are places like starting a career as a real estate lawyer that might have good information, off the record interview tips, and various other things you might try here. Again, I don't think these interview resources are as cool as what you're going to find in the library databases for the newspapers and the library databases for Ebesco, but it's another option for finding interview resources. Now, what you can find on the web and in Google that you can't find elsewhere are blogs. And if I hit housing lawyer blog, I can find blogs written by housing lawyers. And some of these are just sort of real estate lawyers, but if you explore a little deeper, you'll find some lawyers who are involved in some of the bigger questions. I like this one about asking a tenant lawyer for help, and I think you might find better blogs if you type in tenant lawyer blog, because there are different specific tenant lawyers who keep blogs, and there you go. Tenant rights blog, New York City tenant lawyer blog. You get specific lawyers keeping blogs, and that is definitely something that could be worked into a paper. Posts that a lawyer doing, or anyone doing a dream career, makes about their experience in the dream career could just provide awesome material for your paper. So those are a few ways that you can use the web to find some really cool material. For me, the best I think comes from the blog posts, but I also think a direct career search title can take you to some cool websites, particularly organizational ones connected. Interested in a career as a studio musician? Maybe there's a union for studio musicians that's running a cool website. Interested in being a research biologist? Maybe there's a research biologist keeping a blog, or a national organization of research biologists who have their own page. There's cool stuff out there that can really help you answer those questions about why people in the dream career work and how they use some of the skills on our GE outcomes page. Remember, the goal here is to make connections and follow leads. So you enter an idea and then other things pop up, and you take some of those ideas and you put them in the search box, re-enter it, and see where it takes you. And I tried to model a little bit of that in the quick run through that I gave you just a few minutes ago. And then, of course, make sure you document your sources. Now, you don't have to do a separate research report for the web. I want you to combine that in one research report with your library material. But you do want to be collecting MLA citation information. And with websites, you have to think a little bit more about evaluating your sources for bias and credibility. A blog source can be a terrific example for material we can use for this paper, but we have to recognize it's one person's take on the dream career and is in some ways limited. That doesn't mean you shouldn't use it, but you have to recognize the strengths and weaknesses, the biases, and the credibility of the different kind of sources you use in your paper, and account for that in your discussion and use of those sources. So I hope this got you started, got you thinking, gave you some ideas for where to explore with your web research. Don't hesitate to contact me if you have any questions.